It's train time, starting now, right after this small intro.
In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. Further support provided by miniprint.ca. Make your layout come alive with the 3D creation of miniprint.ca. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Joe, what time is it?
I think it's train time.
Episode?
Number 20.
Wow.
Hey. So this one might be a little shorter than usual. We have to, first I'd like to apologize to William Bryant and Jason Wood, or Winner. They have win or mugs, right? This one here is just a sample, so we're still waiting for our order to come in. They are behind in their production and so on. So the minute they arrive, you guys,
we'll package them up and get them out. So
and
they will be coming.
Yep, and we'll add on a little thing in there that anyway we're not talking about, but that would be a surprise for you guys. Okay. So
be patient.
Yep. Well, folks, I got to announce today that the crew of the CMR, also the crew of It's Train Time, have joined the Portage Model Railroad Club as members.
Portage La Prairie.
Yeah, in Portage La Prairie, Manitoba.
Yeah.
Now, definitely, you will hear quite a bit more about that club.
Yes, hopefully we can get back to them now that COVID restrictions are down and do some more videos.
Yes, and in the end of September, we'll be filming more than likely our episode from the Mega Train Show in Winnipeg, in conjunction with being with the Portage Model Railroad Club.
Yes.
So that would be a kind of an interesting show on that, because it would be different. We'll try to have as many interviews with people as we can. So.
And that was the club that we had donated that English style N scale layout to.
Yeah, I could not precisely recognize it. So nice it is.
It's all cleaned up.
Yeah, but that club has got a huge HO layout. They're building a huge O scale layout. They have one going all around the room, the train room, the main train room, and they're projecting on doing a second shelves, but that one would be only for the storage of the car that being donated to them. You know, they're doing some work on the module that are going on the road all the time with them. So, and we have to say that clubs have the perfect locations.
Yeah. An old railway station.
Is the old CP station for Portage La Prairie.
Yep.
It has been totally redone on the inside, renovated after the fire that they had.
Yeah, can you remember what year that fire? That's quite a ways back.
Oh yeah, it's a long time ago, because when we donate the English and scale, that renovation was far from being over. Well, through that time and through the pandemics, they finished the renovation in there, and it's beautifully done. They had to keep the old aspect of the building because it's an historical building. And upstairs and the second floor, they got a beautiful boardroom now for meeting and that type of thing, and also to keep archives. You know, Selkirk was very well established and had lots of layouts and so on, and had to close because of the rent and that type of thing. But Portage La Prairie is in a very great positions where they're gaining members.
Well, they're working in conjunction with the
Heritage.
Portage Heritage.
Yes, because
committee
when you became member of Portage, you became member of the Heritage also.
Oh, okay.
Which we will be talking a lot about as the time comes, you know, and promote the heritage in there. It's like a museum, and you know that we're doing all sort of museum. Shortly, in one of our episodes, we'll be talking about a museum in Alberta, right? As the same time that we're promoting Transcona with their Get on Board campaign for the 2747.
The shelter,
Yeah. So, to all the members of the Prairie Portage Model Railroad Club, thank you for having us, and thank you for the great receptions. We're really pleased with that, and
we look forward to doing some videos.
Yeah, an interview with some of the guys in there and what they're doing and so on, which would be more on a personal basis, and at the same time featuring the great work that you're doing. So last week we had the pleasure and the honor to have Peter's brother Ivan on studio with us.
Yes, from St. Albert.
From St. Albert, Alberta, which is at the same time, Ivan is one of our correspondents in Alberta, which is great. We're looking for some other correspondents from some other province so that we can feature their stuff too. But in the past, we have talked about the scale, which is 150.
It's 1.5" scale.
Yeah.
And the gauge on the track is 7.5 inches.
Right. So we had brought that in a few show prior. But this time we had the builder of that locomotive.
Yeah.
And some video that he brought to us.
So that's
so that would be
interesting little segment.
Yes, Peter did a fantastic job conducting the interview.
We learned how he numbered his locomotive and how long it took him to
build it and all the other thing going with it and how he run it. And in the videos, you will notice he's got another little critter that he used to that is there, which is kind of neat. So in there, in that segment, you will have 2 or 3 videos that are all connected together in the interview of Peter with Ivan. Also, when we had Ivan in, we talk about another place where they run that locomotive at his friend's Rick Moses. That would be a segment that will come in the future show.
On its own, at Rick's acreage.
Yeah, and also the club that they have in Alberta. And then we'll be talking also about the museum.
Right.
In one show, you will have the pleasure to see a banter in between 2 brothers and their love about model railroading and how each one of them had went a different way with the hobby, but still totally passionate about it. So, for now on, I think, Peter,
we'll look at Ivan's segment.
We'll look at Ivan's segment.
Okay, enjoy. Well, today we have a special guest at our CMR studios. My brother Ivan Hall from Edmonton is visiting, and we are going to talk about his layout. Now, we're both came up in the HO scale.
That's correct.
But he has gone kind of the step further and gone into the 1 inch,
inch and a half
scale, which is 7.5 inch gauge trackage. And so I will kind of turn the mic over to Ivan for a little bit to explain like how you ever got interested in this scale and you've built a steam locomotive and rolling stock, and so, like, first of all, how did you ever get interested in this size?
Well, I guess it goes back about 25, 30 years ago. I managed to get Little Engines catalog from Gooch Hobbies in Winnipeg,
Okay.
and I marveled over these huge engines that you could ride on and everything, but it was way beyond my price range at the time. And then as I got older and retirement and that, I decided that I was going to bite the bullet and move up and try my hand at building a steam engine. Got involved with a group called the Alberta Model Engineering Society that are based out of Calgary, and the rest is history.
Okay. And you've built a steam locomotive, which is what, 260?
Yes, it's a CNR Morris Mogul.
Morris Mogul
260.
Okay.
Yes.
And you've also, I know, prior to you completing the locomotive, you built rolling stock for it.
Yes, the steam engine itself was quite an effort. It took me 9 years to construct it from the ground up. But in the meantime, I built a caboose, and I built a 1910 version truss-rotted gondola, and the tender, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting machining done, and budget constraints limited
Yeah.
the rest of
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. And now, I was always wondering why you numbered your locomotive 911, because, I mean, 911 to everybody these days is, New York Towers, but your reasoning was...
Well, my reasoning was it took me 9 years to get the engine actually built and operating on compressed air. And then another 2 years before I actually had it firing on oil and steaming it.
Okay.
And I found that the CNR numbering sequence, the Morris Moguls went from 900 to about 935 in that range.
Okay.
So 911 was a legitimate
Nine-
number for the seat.
Good. And now, since you've gotten into this, you've also laid track around your yard in St. Albert, right?
Oh yes, we had I had joined Iron Horse Park and Alberta Model Engineering Society. They have a site at Airdrie, and one of the chaps there, Bruce Winters, had a bunch of aluminum rail on an acreage, and he wasn't using it, and so we made him an offer and got the rail up. And I had planned to circle my house in St. Albert. I couldn't figure out how to get around the house totally on my property.
Right.
So I had some just trackage laid in the backyard.
And going back and forth.
Back and forth. Yeah, and that was the start.
Right. And I know at one point you'd thought of, jackhammering your driveway and laying track but you went a different route, right?
Yeah, I'd looked at a corner of my garage. I would have had it cut off, and all kinds of my front yard sloped out to the street. And I happened to be on a YouTube video, and there was a chap down in Arizona, I think it was, and he had this snap trestle that he built across his driveway. And I thought, that was inspiration. I can do something like that.
So you went ahead and built your trestle, and so now you have a complete loop that goes...
I have a complete loop. I can actually loop my entire property. A trestle that goes across the driveway that I replace when I'm not running in that. And so it was a working solution.
Yeah, there you go. and I know you had a visit one time. This is how I found out about your locomotive number. But you were running in your yard, and some neighbor's little boy was watching you?
Yeah, we back onto a park, and I was running back and forth in the backyard, and the little boy heard my steam engine going by, and he got all excited with his mother. He said, well, we'll ask. And so I invited them to the yard, and he just fell in love
With the train.
with the train.
Yeah.
And from that, she had mentioned it to somebody, and the next thing I knew, there was a reporter from the St. Albert Gazette that showed up at my house and said, I understand you got this train in that. Can you tell me the whole story? And I ended up being a featured article in the little local newspaper.
Yeah, there you go. All kinds of publicity for your, Now, I know your daughter has done some video, be running with this interview. So your most recent thing is your Corona tunnel.
Yes, I had I ran along the fence line between my property line and the house, and I thought of building just a storage shed to keep the engine in while I'm running in the summertime. Then put it in the garage. I had storage in the garage for the winter, and then the Corona
virus,
COVID-19 calamity hit us. So I decided, well, if I'm going to build a shed, I might as well put a tunnel front on it, on the entrance and that. And Corona, it's going to be the Corona
tunnel. That's cool. I'm trying to think of where else we want to go with. I know you're involved with like Iron Horse, like you mentioned, and we're going to get into that kind of later. You also work with some of your other buddies out on some acreages and stuff. But
there's a group of us that are members of Alberta Model Engineering Society in Edmonton, and one of our members happened to retire from EPCOR, the local power utility, and move out to the country, and decided that he wanted to build some track on his acreage in that. And so we became kind of the Edmonton division of AMES, and there's a group of about a dozen of us that contribute to his operation. So
we've visited with Ivan Hall on his home layout, and we'll be back with a different segment later on.
Well, I can tell you, I was doing the technical that day when you did the interview and so on.
Yeah.
And that is a great interview, right?
Good, thanks.
The fact is Ivan seems to be a subject very easy to interview.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and a lot of knowledge.
Oh, God, he's got more knowledge than I'll ever have.
Well, anyway, I hope you did enjoy that, folks. And right after that short commercial, it would be the photo of the month.
Well, another good grouping of photos.
Well, every time I look at photo like that, I always got some wacky idea to add on to my list of ideas. So it's great because it can give even beginners, especially beginners, some great idea of how to model things.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, but another segment that give you very good idea how to model things is the view from above.
Right.
Coming in right now, and enjoy it, folks.
Enjoy, yes.
Ever wanted to take a nostalgic trip back to the steam era? Through the Window of a Train is the book for you. Or go back into history with The Memory of the Moonlight Specials. Through the Window of a Train for $19.95, or Memory of the Moonlight Specials for $21.95, or 4 limited time offers. You can get both books signed for only $39.95 plus shipping. Order now.
Well, Peter, you know, when we do some modeling, people, when they look at anything being modeled, they a little bit have the impressions that it just came out, right? They don't realize the amount of time.
What's involved with it,
Yes. And even us as modeler, we don't necessarily realize how much time we put into it.
Yeah.
And as such, because of the project we're doing on the CMR, on the layout for the city of Winnipeg, I started to record the hours I spend. I am building that condominiums, you know, which is an ultra-modern building.
Right.
Where I got 4 walls that were from the Vicky's kit, which is a Risk RRX. Anyway, I find out, well, it won't take me that long. Well,
and that's for the condos on Waterfront Drive in Winnipeg.
That's right. And so anyway, it turned out that so far I got 71.5 hours sinking to that project.
Well, you started that, what?
July the 20th.
July 20th?
Yeah. But it's some of the days that I haven't worked on, because usually I'm in the studio every day of the week, you know, in between 3 to 5 hours. Some days is 7.5 hours of work on a project. Or sometimes I work a few projects at a time. But on that specific building, I got the major part done in some ways, but now I'm at the stage where I got to do each floors on both sides.
Yeah.
And the back is already, the back is not on the building, because all the floors got to go in, and each of the floor would be 2 or 3 sequence of lights per floor.
And scenes.
And scenes in some, and less scene in some others, and so on. So I preview probably another 70 hours before that building is ready to go in the layout. So many buildings, even the kit sometime that the people will purchase, where we always joke on the fact and say, hey, a 2-year-old kid could have done that kit, you know, in 2 hours. It turned out that the modelers will come in and do the same kits, but it will take 15-20 hours to do, depending on what they're doing to the building.
That's right. That it all depends on. We all have our kind of enjoyment levels or parts of the modeling that we really enjoy. So for somebody that really enjoys doing scratch building or kit bashing like yourself, you want to create a scene within that building. So you're going to take a lot longer to create those detailed scenes, especially on interiors. Somebody else may not spend that kind of time doing inside scenes, but there's still a large amount of work to do when you consider your painting and weathering the outside of the building, even if you're not doing an interior.
Yeah, it's part of the game. In that specific building, you got a gym, so you will see some scratch-built gym equipment. You have a recreational room where you got pool table in there. So right now my pool tables are halfway done. Right? And then you got the restaurant in the bottom, which on itself you have to do all the booths and so on and so on. and you have the convenience store on the other side, and after that it's all the condos.
Yeah.
So depending of the scene, and the balconies, well, you want people in the balconies, you want some actions happening, but that is just part of that models. When that models get into the layout and the sceneries is all done around it, there's a ton of other action that would be added.
Yeah. See, myself personally on my home layout, I'm an N scale, and to me, doing interior scenes are much more difficult than in HO. So my concentration in the N scale is different lighting and stuff rather than setting up a detailed interior scene.
Right.
I'll spend more time doing the outside scenery and weathering and that type of stuff. But my buildings are all different types of lighting in them, so.
Well, and you also, on yours, you're mixing the new with the old and the in-between and so on, which is great, you know. People do that. Last Thursday, we received here for the CMR a beautiful gift. Got 3 cases. I'm talking cases, and not small cases here, of structural wood. A lot of it from northeastern wood and so on, from down the states. We have some sheet of woods, you know, for clapboards and all sorts and so on.
Siding,
siding, a whole box. Upstairs, the half box that I brought there is pile of structural wood in there. Matter of fact, I will say that that amount of structural wood, just on the wood itself, if you buy it from a hobby shop, it's probably somewhere around $2,000 to $2,500 worth of what we got as a gift. And then we end up with 2 boxes. I'm talking boxes, something like 3 feet long by 6 inch high by 6 inch wide of tracks, and 1 cylinders also of tracks, and then a various amount of switches to go along with that are brand new. And those tracks are brand new also, which some of those switches in there right now probably are on the average of $150, you know.
There's even HON3 stuff in there.
Yes, and even switch for it too, you know. So even if you got an HO layout and you use the HON3, you can use it in mines, you can use the N scale tracks on mines and so on. So
and I even have some of the N scale from that at home now.
Yeah, you on your site for your personal layout, you have a huge amount of stuff came into you too. So we have been very blessed to get that, because it will tremendously help, you know, on the building of the layout. So to the people that give us to us, thank you very much, and you know who you are. So you have give us a great gift to help us keep modeling in here.
Yes,
a lifetime worth of it. But it's also, I think, Peter, you were talking about all the different scales.
Yes.
And I think that what we just talked about bring the subject right up to that.
Because, you know, my home layout is N scale. I also have HO locomotives and rolling stock.
Right.
CMR is all HO.
Right.
We've seen an interview with my brother who is in the 1.5 to the foot and 7.5 gauge that he rides on with his buddies and the club. But there's also, there's the garden scale, the G scale. There's and there's a multitude of scales, and each one of us is doing some form of modeling, whether it's like Ivan with the 7.5 inch out at Rick's place. It's natural scenery.
Yep.
It's real life scenery. Garden scale tends to be real life scenery because you're running it through gardens, whereas we're creating replica scenery on our HO and N scale layout. So
Yeah, well, I don't think that my train could handle my weight, but his train can.
yeah,
But you see, in model railroading, the variations that you have and the choice that you have, well, a lot of time will depends on your wallet too. Because some of those bigger scale come at a pretty good price.
Yes.
A good friend of Ivan, Ernie, him is not the pleasure of building a layout as much as manufacturing those big locomotive that you can ride.
Yeah, prototypical, yeah.
And they have to be prototypical to the point that there's so many details on it that if you take a pictures of them, you don't know if you have the real one or if you have a model.
Yeah. And yet, I think Ivan said he's got a huge amount of trackage that he wants to build as well. So
yeah, in his property there where he is. But Ernie doesn't do one model at a time. He do 2 or 3 and so on. And then he's got to find a buyer for it. Yeah. But when you look at like the locomotive that we saw a picture of it, which is an ES44, is so detailed. That engine by itself could work probably up to the $200,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's all craft made. All the parts are made by him, and
we'll have a segment on that in a future show.
Oh, absolutely, because I find that the work he's doing there is craftsmanship to no end. But a lot of guys that we don't hear much about, really, right? You don't see it much on Facebook, or you don't see it much on magazine and that type of thing, are doing just that.
Oh yeah, it's the great thing about model trains is, and we've talked about this before, where the train itself is just a character in a scene.
Yep.
And there's so many different skill levels. There's so many different things that people want to accomplish in whatever scale they're in. It's just endless what you can do.
Well, I find out being involved in the model railroad, as much as I am, which to me is precisely a daily thing. Every day I'm learning something new. Because our knowledge on model railroading can be very limited. But as you keep on going, you constantly generate some new things that you didn't know about. So we end up that model railroader know a lot of things about many different aspects of the layout. Some maybe of those points we will know more than some others, but as we're building that layout, we're starting to learn about other things.
And the techniques from 20 and 30 years ago, and the materials they're changing all the time. But you compare what we're doing today with some of the stuff that was done 20 and 30 years ago.
Oh, big difference.
Your lighting technology and all that kind of stuff has advanced so much.
a lot of it has to do with now we have the modeler access to more stuff than on those years, right? And got the abilities or have generate the abilities of buildings with new component and new mediums.
Yep.
The 3D printer, for example, have revolutionized model railroading in many aspects, right? The CNC machine, that does all the cutting on the wood and so on, has
LED lights.
The LED lights, the sequence, even the Arduino, is pile of stuff to discover. To a point, I will say, Peter, that somebody who's starting in the hobby can look at it and be very scared, of venturing into the hobby because now I have so much to learn. Well, there's nothing to be scared about. You're starting with the basic.
Yep.
And as you're going along, you will add on some of those techniques and some of that new material, and you will be experimenting on your own.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. You get your feet wet, you get your knees wet, you get your, and
then
you just
you're
keep on
right
going.
up to your neck.
You're right up to your neck.
But like paints.
Yep.
Right? Some people will make a recipe for paints because they want that paint to be exact. And to me, I kind of smile into that because it's got to be you have to be very dedicated to have that paint to be just the exact paint and so on. But what make me smile is after all that is so beautiful in the locomotive and so details, we go and weather
it.
That all that beautiful paint now doesn't look nothing even near what it was to start with.
Yeah. But there again, another aspect of the hobby, right?
Gotta be careful with the weathering.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to get overboard.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's a little bit of everything on this hobby for the people, but it rests to the fact that model railroading is fun.
Yes. And we want everybody out there to enjoy what they're doing. We also want them still to send us comments. Tell us what you're doing. Make comments on the show as to what you think maybe we can even improve. We're always looking for improvement.
Yes. I like to know from you, viewer, in the comment below, what is your take on what a yard should be? Should it be on your layout multiple yards? Should it be a big yard? Should it be a small yard? Should it be a transitional yards that nobody sees and so on? Let us know, what do you think a yard should be?
Yeah, there you go.
That'd been interesting to read your take.
Subject for comment.
Yeah, as a subject for comment. And to all the new subscriber on our channel, welcome. We're happy to see you. And don't forget, subscribe.
Yes.
Click the bell so you can know when we got a new show.
Yep.
Or a new how-to video.
Right.
And feel free to comment.
Yeah.
We love your comments.
And enjoy the hobby and let us know what you're doing.
Yeah. And you can also visit us on our Facebook group page at Canadian Model Railroad, right? Or you can visit our webpage at www.canadianmodelrailroad.ca.
Yep.
And don't forget to go visit our sponsor.
Yes.
Miniprint.com, and all the new things that are coming out with Bernard Helens and the mini prints. You would be surprised of all the things that guy is fabricating for you to enjoy and make your layout come alive.
Yes, and wherever you are, Support your local railway museum.
Yeah. Or historical society.
Or historical society, yes. They're always looking for help, and if you're so inclined, you can also volunteer your time and go and pull nails or whatever.
And for the viewer in Canada, okay, if you have one of those museum or heritage center around that you want to promote, make sure that you get in touch with us so we can feature them too.
Yes.
So, folks, it was a great time. It was another show. We get to the conclusion of number 20. Number 21, we'll have some other surprise.
Yes.
So, stay with us.
Enjoy.
And happy modeling.
Have fun.